What's up, everybody? Kinetic here, and welcome back to Diablo 3. It's been ages, it feels like now, since the last time I made a D3 video. I believe it was just before BlizzCon last year was the last time I made a D3 video. It's also been a while since I've had the camera on like this too, so this is kind of weird. I think the last time I did this was the last Bloodborne video or something like that. But anyway, so I'm coming back to making Diablo 3 content and playing the game in general because, well, I really want to. I'm kind of sad that I missed out on and took a break from the last season. Just felt like I needed to do that, though. If anything, it's recharged my batteries and made me hungry again for Diablo 3 content. There's kind of a feeling now within the community that, is there even going to be like another expansion for Diablo 3? Are they just going to go ahead and make Diablo 4? Or are they working on World of Sanctuary or something like that? There's some crazy theories out there as far as what the future of Diablo 3 is. But regardless of what they do from here forward, I think that they've done a fantastic job within just this expansion pack's kind of lifetime with Reaper of Souls, all the changes that they've made. Even the last couple expansions, or excuse me, the last couple of patches have done some amazing things with adding like set dungeons and stuff like that. We got really cool collectible things like, check out this cute little vampire girl or whatever she is with the knife in her hand. That's totally awesome. We've got things like that. We've got cool new wings. These are actually from the World of Warcraft expansion, these wings that I'm wearing here, but there's other wings that you can collect from in the game, portraits and things like that. I think it's a great time to keep playing and be a part of Diablo 3. So I thought I would show you guys something cool because there's a lot of interesting things that have been coming out of the classes and their sets and new possibilities with like the no set rings and stuff like that. This is a wizard Torment 10 Death's Breath farming build. Now I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way. This is not my build. If I remember correctly, as I kind of discovered this, I saw somebody's post on Diablo fans about this build because I was looking up builds to see like how I could do some Death's Breath farming, and I found that build, and then somehow I traced it back to Quinn69, who, after watching his video, I believe he says in that video that it was actually told to him. Somebody else told him about this build idea, and then he tweaked it, and then the person before I found Quinn talking about it, they tweaked it before that. So basically, as confusing as that is, I'm just saying it's not my build, even though I could say with some of the changes that I've made that it is my build, but it's not really. Let's just call it a community build for Death's Breath farming for the wizard. What does this actually use, Kinetic? Well, I'm glad that you asked that. This is using 2 pieces of the Sage's set and 5 pieces of the Tal Rasha's set, the Wand of Woe, and the Orb of Infinite Depth. And we're, of course, getting our 6-piece and 3-piece bonuses for the Sages and the Tal Rasha's set with the Ring of Royal Grandeur in the Kanai Cube. Now, this build is, as I said, it's for Torment 10 farming and for basically speed farming that, with the addition of getting Death's Breaths by the truckload. And a big part of how that revolves around is through, for one, speed and insane amounts of destruction because of the explosive blast in combination with the Wand of Woe, the Orb of Infinite Depth, and just kind of keeping a really strong momentum flowing with those items, those skills, and also the Ingome is a major part of this build as well. Your skill cooldowns are reduced by 10 seconds for 15 seconds after killing an elite pack. So it's really important, and we'll talk about some of the choices that I've made to kind of efficientize, that's not really a word, but to keep that rolling as best as it can in my playstyle and the way that it feels to me. So before we get into details about what the skills are, passives, and Paragon points and stuff like that, let's actually take a look at the rest of the gear here. In addition to the Sage's set, the Tal Rasha's, Wand of Woe, and Infinite Depth Orb here, I've chosen to go with the Nemesis bracers in the bracer slot. Now, this is something that I've seen a variety of pieces go into, but whether it's on your character or whether it goes into the Kanai Cube, I think it's actually really, really important to have the Nemesis bracers, so that way you can spawn elite packs at shrines. 2 reasons for that. For one, more elite packs means more Death's Breaths, right? And that's what this build is about. But it's also about keeping up the momentum of the Ingome. You see, there will be periods where you'll be running around, the buff from the Ingome will wear off, and so then you've lost a huge amount of the power that this build brings. So to ensure that wherever the elites come from, whether it's from just them being existing already in the world or from shrines, we're keeping up that buff and we're keeping up that momentum of power as we go. I suppose, and you could argue, well, you could just put it into your inventory, have something else there, open up your inventory, swap it out, swap it in, swap it out, stuff like that. But that's kind of excessive, like, amounts of activity in what otherwise I feel like is a really smooth and very powerful and effective build as it is already. You don't really need to be micromanaging crap like that from your inventory. You can if you want to, by all means. Go ahead and throw in the I can't remember the name of the wrists, but the ones that on wreckable objects give you a speed boost to your running speed. That's cool too. I mean, the faster you're running, the faster you're going to clear stuff, right? But just for simplicity's sake, I think, and because I kind of like to go into autopilot sometimes with this build, I go ahead and I put the Nemesis bracers right there in that slot. Now for the shoulder slot, I believe I saw some guy using Corruption or something like that for his shoulders. I think I saw somebody else using the Skeleton King's Pauldrons. To me, it makes more sense to use something like Deathwatch Mantle for the chance to explode, Fan of Knives when hit, because we are going to be almost constantly within butt sex range of all the demons, like, on the map, right? We're going to be running around really close to them, doing our explosive blast for our damage, so it seems to make more sense to me to go ahead and have something like this for that additional damage as they're trying to hit you, exploding in Fan of Knives. I like that idea a little bit better, but it's up to you guys, I suppose, what you really want to put in that slot. So that's the gear. As far as the legendary gems go, I think that two of these are probably undisputed. The Bane of the Powerful, duh, we're fighting elites, right? Bane of the Trapped, once again, duh, makes total sense, especially since we're bringing something like Frost Nova. For the third gem, this would definitely be something debatable, I suppose. I go with the gem of Efficacious Toxin for a number of reasons. I think you could also put something like the Gizzard gem here, which will give you the health regen and also a shield after not taking damage and stuff like that. But that's like survivability slash defensive only, pretty much right there. I go with the Toxin gem because I'm also getting not just some damage buffs here, but also some defensive buffs, but also some damage buffs out of it too. Of course, we got poison all enemies for X percentage of weapon damage, and then the rank 25 bonus. All enemies you poison take 10% increased damage from all sources and deal 10% less damage. So I like that. It gives us, like I said, rather than just a defensive survival buff like something like the Gizzard might have, it gives us both offense and defense with this build. And also, as we're running around, I think that what also makes this a much more interesting gem is we're not necessarily stopping for every enemy that we encounter. We're trying to run as fast as we can to try and get to the next elite pack. But we also, I think, want to kill pretty much as many things as we can, right? Because that's more XP, that's potentially more materials, more legendaries, more pretty much everything, right? But like I said, you don't necessarily want to stand there and wait till they're dead. So we could hit them a couple of times with our explosive blast, and if they're not dead, then they would more than likely die eventually because of the poison damage over time. So I think that that's another good reason why I like to put the Toxin gem here in this slot as well. So I think that that pretty much covers all of the technical stuff regarding gear and weapons and stuff like that. We can go ahead and see also from the Kanai powers that I'm using the Hexing Pants of Mr. Yan. Now this is another thing that probably different people could swap in for other pieces. Like I said, the wrists that give you movement speed, but for me, I found that the pants give us the nice resource generation and damage increase while we're moving, and we're moving almost constantly except maybe on the occasion to stop and perform electrocute for our focus and restraint rings, right? But other than that, we're almost nearly constantly running around our enemies, doing explosive blasts, so we get the extra damage out of that, and this helps to, of course, ensure that we always have our arcane power to spend for our explosive blasts and everything else. Because you'll see from the video footage, I am constantly pressing my 1 and 2 to activate the Explosive Blast and the Frost Novas, and this can definitely start to wear on your arcane power pool by doing that. Plus Wormhole from teleport and things like that. It's not something everybody may struggle with, but I found on some occasions I could hear her saying, "I'm out of arcane power," and I'm like, well, that sucks. Can't really do much without arcane power now, can we? So I go with the Hexing Pants. I think that makes for a good piece, definitely, in the armor of the Kanai Cube. Since we're talking about skills, let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of that. For the active skills, I want to say that pretty much everybody that's using a build like this is using these exact skills. The Electrocute, Surge of Power, Teleport, Wormhole, Explosive Blast, Chain Reaction, Frost Nova with Frozen Mist, Diamond Skin with Prism. That Diamond Skin right there is a really, really helpful tool right there when you are activating the shrines for the elite packs, because as soon as those guys spawn, they immediately start hammering you in the face. So I make sure to activate that just before I touch the shrines. It really, really helps out. And the Storm with the armor, Storm Armor with the Scramble mod is a tool that just keeps us moving as fast as we can just by getting hit by enemies that we're running past on our way to the next elite pack. Now for the passive skills, it's probably going to vary depending on people's builds and stuff like that, but I want to say for the most part these first three right here are going to be universal for a build like this. The Elemental Exposure, Audacity, deal 30% additional damage to enemies within 15 yards. Again, we're nearly almost always in butt sex range of our enemies, so that just makes sense. Reduced cooldown reduction. Okay, I don't think I've stressed enough how important reduced cooldown is, especially in between periods when you will lose the power of the Ingome. It's going to be harder to keep up your casts of the Explosive Blast and your Frost Nova and stuff like that. You want to get as close to 40% cooldown reduction from your character details as possible. Evocation here is a must-have for keeping our cooldowns as low as they possibly can. Now for the fourth one, I've experimented with a different combination here in this slot, but I think Conflag is probably one of the better passives definitely to have in this spot. Because we're using Explosive Blast, I think it just makes a lot of sense. Fire damage dealt to enemies applies a burning effect, increasing their chance to be critically hit by 6% for 3 seconds. Just by getting hit by one of the first blasts coming out of our explosive wave, we're increasing their crit hit chance received by 6%, and so the next couple of waves that are coming out of Explosive Blast, which are coming extremely fast, are going to deal that much more damage and make it that much easier to burn down those elites and whoever else is getting hit by the Explosive Blast. So I like it. I think it's good. Another option aside from Conflag, you could go with Illusionist. When maybe you're running past enemies, you'll get hit by them on your way to the next elite pack, which will bring your teleport off of cooldown faster. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I could see that working quite well. If you're super squishy and you might be struggling to get the hang of the build first, then maybe start with Unstable Anomaly, which is going to give you that second life chance or something like that. There's a couple of different options here, but for me, like I said, I like Conflag for the extra critical hit chance. Really quick, let's go back to here and we can take a look at the Paragon points. I haven't really given too much thought into what specifically people should maybe put here. I want to say actually that this build is really not that dependent on you having a lot of Paragon points to make this effective, but of course we're going to go ahead and put max movement speed here because you want movement speed in your Paragon points, not in your gear, and then the rest goes into your primary stat like intelligence. For offense, I don't think attack speed is important at all for this, but definitely, like I said, cooldown reduction is insanely important for this build. So definitely prioritize, I think, putting cooldown reduction, then crit hit chance, crit hit damage after that. For defense, go with, I suppose, resist, armor, and life, maybe in that order, something like that. Elemental damage is still really, really nasty in this game. So yeah, resist all, the more, the better. And for utility, I would say resource cost reduction, life on hit, one or the other for the first one, area damage after that. Yeah, that should be good. But like I said, overall, Paragon points I don't think are going to matter too much. It's really about the skills, the active skills in particular, and making sure we have the weapons and the majority of the armor pieces here. Aside from the wrists, the shoulders, and the armor slot and the Kanai Cube, I think those are the flexible pieces, the Toxin Gem as well. But that's going to wrap it up for this Torment 10 speed farming, Death's Breath, Sage Rasha wizard build or something like that. I'm not sure what to call this, but something like that. It's an amazing build. It goes extremely fast. nice, very powerful, very fun, and doesn't require a ton of concentration to make work either. That's probably one of my favorite things. I can just kind of zone out, go into autopilot, and watch like Heroes of the Storm esports on my second screen or something like that. It works insanely well for farming. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to do more of these very soon for not just the wizard, but for as many classes as I have gear ready for. I still have a lot of farming to do to catch up with what they released in the patch before the most recent patch. So yeah, it's going to be interesting and it's going to be fun. Season 6 starting this Friday. I'll be doing my traditional make a new hardcore character, let's see how it lives kind of activity in Season 6, and that should be fun as well. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Click the like button to support these Diablo 3 videos here on the channel, and I'll try to keep them rolling out as best as I can. Thanks again for watching. My name is Kinetic, and I'll see you next time.